House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes is tired of waiting for deep state to turn over subpoenaed documents. Nunes and GOP lawmakers on the Intel Committee have given the Department of Justice and FBI until next Wednesday to turn over requested documents on the phony Trump dossier. Nunes slammed the deep state last week for failing to produce the documents as required by law back in August. Unfortunately, DOJ/FBI's intransigence with respect to the August 24 subpoenas is part of a broader pattern of behavior that can no longer be tolerated. As a result of the numerous delays and discrepancies that have hampered the process of subpoena compliance, the committee no longer credits the representations made by DOJ and/or the FBI regarding these matters. Representative Ron DeSantis joined Trish Regan on Sunday Morning Futures to discuss the deep state resistance with congressional investigators,
suggesting the FBI and Justice Department should be investigating themselves and demanding all records by this Wednesday. Joining me right now is Florida Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis, a member of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Happy New Year's Eve. So good to see you, Congressman. Let me ask you about this letter here from Representative Nunes. Putting that deadline on things, how does that change the equation right now? Will they meet it?
Well, I think the letter was great, and I applaud Chairman Nunes for doing that. I think that deadline needs to be enforceable. Trish, we've been doing this for months and months, asking very simple questions about the genesis of this investigation, about how the dossier came into the FBI's possession, whether the FBI paid for the dossier, whether they used it to get surveillance on any Trump associates. And those are all very easy questions to actually answer. And yet we've been met with resistance after resistance after resistance. So I think they have until next week to do it. And then if not, I think the House is going to have to move on to different measures in order to force compliance.
Congressman, what do you think that resistance is about?
It's hard to tell. I mean, you have a lot of people in there who've been a part of the bureaucracy for a long time. I mean, to me, the questions are very easy to answer. If you said, of course we didn't use the dossier, then you would just say that. And I think the reason is probably that some of the answers to these questions are going to call further into question the behavior of some of the people involved at the very highest levels of both the Clinton and Russia investigations, people like Peter Strzok. So we need answers to those questions, and I think what they're doing by resisting, but then actually leaking certain facts to the media. There was just an article in the New York Times yesterday where they're leaking about this Papadopoulos, which actually conflicts with previous stories and is not anything that anyone's been able to say under oath on the record to us. You look at that and say, okay, you're not willing to answer Congress's questions under oath, but you'll leak things to the media? That is not the way this is supposed to work.
Well, you think about, frankly, who was running the FBI, and James Comey, sort of leaker-in-chief, if you would, himself. I still remember being absolutely stunned during his testimony when he admitted that he was the one who actually leaked things to his friend at Columbia, who could then in turn leak it to the New York Times. I mean, shocking to me, because it tells you, perhaps, Congressman, a little bit about the culture there. And I guess one of the things I'm amazed by is, if they're so into leaking, how come we haven't heard more about this so-called collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians? Why haven't they been able to find anything, to pinpoint anything to leak to the media?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if there was any evidence of collusion, that would have been leaked months and months ago. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. But it's very, very frustrating to see. A lot of times they will refuse to answer Congress's questions because they'll say, well, it's classified. We're not sure that we can do it in this setting. But then they'll leak classified information to the media. So it's just very, very frustrating process. But you're exactly right. I think there has not been evidence of collusion. And one of the kind of data points that best supports that is, I think if there was evidence of that, I think the press would have gotten it by now.
All right. So let's go.
All right. President Trump has been fighting fake news all year long.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
But it took this group of college students just 36 hours to defeat fake news by developing software called Open Mind. It alerts users when they visit fake news sites and actually helps them find more balanced coverage.
Joining us now are two of those students, Yale doctoral student Michael Lopez-Brow and Caltech undergrad student Alex Quay. Michael, Alex, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
So this was part of a contest to sort of figure this out. Now, you're a psychologist, a doctoral student at Yale, and you're a tech guy at Caltech, right? How did you find each other together on this project?
So we just found each other like on a social media called Slack, where people were forming teams for this competition. So that's all it really took. People said we wanted to deal with fake news, and me and my friend agreed.
And on the psychology side, what are you looking for when you're looking for fake news?
So for fake news, we're looking for a lot of very subtle biases that might be present in articles, and how these biases in the articles might affect the users reading them.
But how can you tell, or how does the program tell the difference between maybe something in the Washington Post or CNN that may be leaning left because the author has liberal tendencies versus something that is just straight up not true?
Right. So I think it's important for our definition of fake news on our software. We're not just, we don't look at biased news. We're looking at news sites that deliberately try to deceive their viewers. So an example is the website msnbc.co, which is trying to impersonate MSNBC. And so that's the kind of site level fake news that we're trying to tackle.
So I'm hearing that Facebook is interested. I mean, this is pretty big news for you guys, right?
Yeah.
This is how he started getting really, really, really rich, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what do they want with you guys?
Yeah, so it seems like they're pretty interested in the idea. When we started this project, previous attempts have focused on trying to use machines to classify an article as either fake or real, but none of them have actually tried to target the users and to see if we can train users in just being more careful and skeptical when they're reading news sites, regardless of whether or not it agrees with their...
So based on your technology, what happens? You enter a search term for a certain news story, you go to a site, and for the reader, what's different about the interface then?
Sure. So if the news site matches on our database of fake news sites, we show a pop-up warning that tells them why this site was being marked as fake news. And of course, they can dismiss this pop-up and continue reading. On the other hand, in the background, we're analyzing the news sites that they're reading, looking at the major topics and its biases. And let's say they're always reading negative news about a politician. We might suggest a positive take on this politician from another news site to give them a more balanced diet of news, because we think that gives them the clearer view of both sides of the story.
So we got to ask, we bumped in with President Trump talking over and over the last 2 years about fake news. How much of what people watching right now see online, on Facebook, on their news websites, how much of it is fake?
Yeah. That's actually a very good question, and it's something that was very alarming to us as we were working on this, is people's definition of fake news. As I said earlier, people believe that biased news against their opinions tends to be fake. And what we want to show with this extension is that we want to show people that just because it doesn't agree with your opinion doesn't mean that it's fake news. And we want to show people examples of fake news by having this repository where people will see warning signs over news sites that are actually fake, and they'll have the option to continue and see the site anyway, so they can go ahead and investigate themselves.
It's fascinating. We had a story a couple weeks ago about the Pope actually said that, the dissemination of false information, of fake news, is a sin. So you're not just opening your mind, you might be saving your soul in this. Tell us how we can find out more about it.
Sure. So if you go to our website, openmind.press, you can sign up to get early access to our plugin. Over 500 people have signed up so far. People from all walks of life: teachers, firefighters, researchers, and seniors, among others. So that's how you can...
Give us the website again.
Openmind.press.
Openmind.press. I assume you guys are doing a couple of media hits on this. Make sure you head on over to CNN. The president calls it very fake news. I'm just saying, just make sure you stop there and do a segment there. Make sure
MSNBC is near there too, right?
Yeah, make it all the way around. Thank you guys. This is cool stuff.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's a solution,
right?
Which is the type of thing we're looking for.
Proud of you guys. Awesome job.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks a lot.